5:30. We have a quorum, so the November 25th, 2025 Oconee County Public Library Board of Trustees meeting is called to order. You've seen the minutes. Do we have additions or deletions from the minutes, corrections? Any motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have time of public comment. Anyone love to comment? How about any board member comments?
Well, I just had a couple of things. First thing was, I was hoping we could start, or not, wouldn't have to be today, but maybe the first of the year, have prayer and pledge of allegiance. The county council has a prayer and pledge of allegiance, and I think it's appropriate. Anybody else have thoughts on that?
Sure.
I agree 100%.
Is that a matter of motion?
Well, I don't know if you'd like to do it today or after the first of the year, just,
Honestly, as far as bylaws is concerned, Paul, that's kind of like you and I basically are supposed to get our heads together and set the agenda. So, I mean, I don't think, I'll have to look at the bylaws to make sure that there's not already an order of the meeting in there.
Right.
But as far as I know, you and I can just add it to the agenda.
Okay,
I'll double check on that. If it requires a vote, we can do it in January, but
okay,
I
sounds
don't
good.
think I can get to it quick enough without interrupting the meeting, so.
okay, good. Okay, I had, anything else on that, or, okay. All right, I had a couple other things. The volunteer tea was amazing. Oh my gosh, those volunteers, they just knocked themselves out.
They did
I
that.
was just blown away, and I felt like I should have been serving them. They were serving us. I mean, next year, let me serve the tea, because they worked so hard, and they were all dressed up, decked out, it was great. And a third thing was the Friends of the Library had made some requests. I think Blair's going to talk about this maybe, but thank you for getting those done for them. They were thrilled. So that was great. One was the ramp, and one was the electric outlet so they could have fans. It gets hot.
It does.
All right, just very quickly to go back to the matter of the order of the meeting, that is listed in the bylaws. So we will need to go ahead, and we can't add it to the agenda tonight because it would have needed to have been changed 24 hours in advance. So
Right.
we'll add it to the January agenda, and we can just, if you want to approve the agenda right at the front and say that we're adding that, and then, whatever, but probably should approve it and then add it to the normal order of the meetings.
Okay.
What we ought to do.
Terrific.
It's in there under Article 5 meetings, and it says usual order of business is, and it's just what we have now. So if we want to include invocation and pledge, we just probably need to do a formal vote and add that to the order of meetings.
Okay, formal vote tonight or
Do that.
next month? Or next
We
meeting?
we need to wait until January on that so it can get on the agenda.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, thank you, Blair. Okay, got the friend, is that all board member comments? Those are great. And Friends report.
All right, briefly, I was, as I mentioned, when I sent out the email to you all with the background information, at that point in time, I did not have the sales figures, but Cindy Clausen is their new treasurer. She's kind of got caught up now. She got those for me. So for the 2 months, September and October, which is what we're, have been looking at, or, the scope of our reports, in basement sales, they sold $6,201.39. The booth, the Books on the Alley at Ramcat Alley, they sold $4,362.18. Lobby sales there in Walhalla at our main library, $682. Third-party sales were $211. Online sales were $311.59. Even the little set of shelves that we have at our Seneca branch sold $120. So grand total for 2 months, September, October, $11,888.16. We
Amazing.
get half of that off the top.
That's amazing.
Can you say
So
that one
you
more
can
time?
imagine that's 2 months, multiply that by 6 and then cut it in half. We immediately get that. And then they give us money for other things as well. We just did get a check, what is today, Tuesday, yesterday, from the Friends for $1,000 for the adult winter reading prizes. The project that we're doing starting December 1st, the adult winter reading, that'll go through January 31st. Just got $1,000 from them on that. So they are, receiving, I won't say record donations, but they're getting a lot. Actually, we're getting really full in the basement, so. Come buy books. Great for the holidays. But they are processing them. I mean, they come in, we have maybe 4 or 5 of them now that are almost in every day. I mean, it's remarkable, the time that they're putting into it. I mean, they're probably working harder now than they maybe did with their jobs. I don't, that's not to slight the work they did with their jobs. I'm sure it was good. But I mean, they're putting in tons of time. It's a labor of love for a lot of them, I know. And they have, obviously, the results speak for themselves. They've done a remarkable job for us. And so we are very grateful for, all the work that they do, because in addition to just helping process all the donations and a lot of our discards from the library, so that, we don't end up having to take that somewhere, then the sales, obviously, and then a lot of them do other stuff. We have several friends that are volunteers on the bookmobile. We have one friend that is a volunteer that comes and helps do book repair and repair other materials for us on an almost weekly basis. We have several of the friends that are also just regular volunteers that help us with other tasks. And then we have so many other friends, of course, that do, help with the sale in one form or fashion. Either they sort, they process, they scan them all or whatever, or they're there the day of the sale to help man the sale and help, help customers. So they do a really good job, and we're very appreciative of them.
Excellent. Committee reports, we'd like to hear from Finance Committee. Okay, how about, Policy Personnel Committee? Buildings and Grounds have an update on the wheelchair ramp project. Excuse me, the handicap ramp project.
Give me a moment.
Seneca.
There you go. Is it showing up for you?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the latest layout, and Blair may have, please jump in if you'd like to add. This is the latest layout, and I spoke with Mr. Kyle Reed. He's the Assistant Director of Public Works, and he says they're looking for an asphalt foreman. He wants to do a good job, and a parking lot's much more difficult than a street. So he's looking for an asphalt foreman. He has a great grading man. He says has 40 years experience, but they kind of need more know-how on the asphalt. So that's the only holdup. No need any permits. So he's looking at first of the year. He thinks we can get that scheduled first of the year. So that's full speed ahead. Basically, we're already in November or near the end of November. So that's great.
Do they need a subcontractor, or do they need somebody that they hire?
Someone they hire.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it is possible that they could subcontract it or whatever, but I mean, the one main reason that county council wanted to do it this way was that they had the in-house
In-house people
expertise.
to do it.
And it's just unfortunately one of the reasons why it's been a little bit of a delay for us too, because I also did speak to Mr. Reed, the day that they came over and did the work on the, little drive there at the garage. And so the other thing I think is that they've been tasked pretty much with working on roads, as long as he doesn't have anybody that, a crew foreman that can do that more intricate work. They've been tasked like do roads.
Sure.
I don't think they've done any projects much at like the parks or anywhere else that required more compact work with, overlay and that kind of thing. It's been like do straight stretches of road. So
Yes,
they've
sir.
been mainly concentrating on roads, here in the county. But yeah, this is gonna give us as it says, there are 8 additional spaces in the front and then the 2 handicapped accessible, and it'll be level with our front walk. They're gonna come in, fill in with a bunch of dirt and that kind of thing and level this off, so you come in off the main drive. There was a potential for us to come in off of, Depot Street, which we didn't like, because then that was crossing the sidewalk and doing a bunch of other stuff that really was not great, design. But now they're able to come in off the main drive, come right up through the front yard there, as you see, and they'll be leveling all that off, cause right now it kinda slopes down to the street. And what they're gonna do is come in and level it off, so that basically you're gonna walk out from those handicap spaces and, you know, right onto the sidewalk and right in the front door.
That's great.
So that will get us what we, you know, what we wanted with the ramp project, but that will get us the exact same thing. Plus additional spaces, which, you know, anytime we do like a story time or, you know, some of our other programs, I mean, we only have 32 spaces right now and our parking lot's full. So an additional 8 standard spaces plus the 2 handicap spaces, that'll also free 2 spaces in the back that are currently handicapped now that we can convert to regular spaces. So this will actually give us really an additional 10 rather than just 8. Regular spaces, and then of course the 2 handicap spaces. We're still okay with 2 based on the number of spaces we have in the lot according to, ADA. So we're okay still with just 2 in the front.
And the best thing is that someone now who is to utilize that does not have to go to the rear of the building.
That's exactly
And ring the
right.
bell.
Once that project is completed, they can park their car, walk in the electric doors, which will just open for them like anybody else. They don't have to go to the back door, they don't have to ring the bell and wait for a staff person to come. Yeah, so definitely gonna be a big win there.
Nice upgrade.
It is, and Mr. Reed, very helpful, very informative, and, very eager to begin.
Yeah, has been easy to work with on this as well as, our project over there, you know, that we'll talk about it later in the agenda. Very easy to work with, you know, they were very responsive. So we'll talk a little bit more about the other thing when we get to this part of the agenda.
Great. Community Relations Committee.
Nothing this month.
Okay, on the chair's report, this has already been mentioned, but, our greatest asset, I've been wanting to concentrate for the chair's report on our library assets, and our greatest asset, of course, is our people. But that's not just limited to our paid staff. As already was mentioned, October 15th, the OCPL had an afternoon tea at the Walhalla Depot. And the library staff provided the food, the tea, they did the serving, but the purpose was to recognize our library volunteers. And it was very eye-opening to me. We had 42 volunteers recognized. They contributed a total of 6,069 volunteer hours in 2024 at a value of $211,140.51. 19 volunteers had more than 100 hours. One volunteer, Miss Judy Roth, had 516 hours. And Nancy Churchill, who has since moved away, so she wasn't recognized, had 1,368 volunteer hours in 2024. That's an average of 34 hours a week.
Wow.
So that is impressive. So while our staff is our great asset, we're gonna keep talking about that. The library benefits very much from volunteers.
Absolutely.
It's very respectable. Director's report.
Okay, we'll keep this brief because we do have, some of the things that I need to talk about will come during the, later items on the agenda. But just mention a couple of things, for you. We are, have seen a little bit of turnover. I think as I mentioned in my report, Tucker Brown, that was our circulation manager in Walhalla, has moved on to Clemson University. We have replaced him though with Abby White. Abigail White was one of our assistants at our Salem branch, and we promoted her to be the circulation manager at Walhalla. We are in the process of replacing Abby's position. We should, I just got word on that tonight, right as you all were coming in, the person from HR was leaving. She let me know that we do have clearance to hire the person, but I haven't spoken to the person yet, so I'd really not wanna mention her name or anything, and she decides all of a sudden for whatever reason that she's not coming, but we do think we have our person to replace Abigail in Salem, to be the assistant up there to Kayla Rucker, who's the manager. So we've got that position filled, hopefully we'll get the person in pretty soon and get them working. So we are in pretty good shape staffing wise. We are probably going to hire one more part-time through Staff Mark to make up some hours. In Walhalla, we had some people that were getting more hours because they had the availability of time. Now they're back in school or they're doing something else. And so we are lacking some, hours there that we can fill. And we have that flexibility since we use Staff Mark for a third party. We do have the flexibility to open up one more position. Basically, all comes out of one pot of money anyway. So we have the flexibility, as long as we don't exceed that pot of money, obviously, then we have the ability to, more or less hours, give some to somebody and then somebody else, and so right now, we're seeing a couple people that they're returning to school or doing something else, we will not be getting as many hours, we are gonna hire an extra position, an extra circulation assistant part-time for our Walhalla branch. Right now, our branches are in pretty good shape, now that we've got the Salem problem solved. Westminster and Seneca have not had any turnover, they're in good shape. They're running real well. And so right now, as far as staffing is concerned, we're going to be in pretty good shape. I mentioned in the report, but I just wanna bring it up again. We had a really good staff in service day on October 13th, Columbus Day. We had a gentleman, Alan Sayer, is with the Sheriff's Department, great partnership with the Sheriff's Department. They've come in and they've done self-defense classes, they've done some other stuff for us. We also get emergency management to come in. Believe they're coming in after the first of the year and do first aid, for us, but the Sheriff's Department did come, train staff on situational awareness and de-escalation techniques. So that if we get anybody in that is unhappy with us, that we can deal with that by not having it turn into a bigger issue, obviously, so that was very valuable training. And then, we also did hear a little bit more from Carrie Leeper Brock about some of the things that she does, even let the staff know. I think some of them didn't even know exactly what some of the services that she offers, so we did that, during training as well. Mentioned the Friends, of course, and the stellar job that they're doing. We are working, there was a little discussion at the beginning before the meeting, we had talked about grants. I am working with Brittany Martin, who's the county grants writer. This is the last year for Carrie Leeper Brock's grant from the Center for Rural and Primary Healthcare. It's an initiative out of University of South Carolina. They got several different libraries going with, social workers or telehealth or something. It was all mainly focused on health. It's kind of out of the USC School of Medicine. It was focused on health, mainly libraries, to have either a social worker, telehealth, something like that. A lot of it came out of COVID. Initially, when we got Carrie, there were a lot of requirements in there about COVID education, that kind of thing. Her position sort of morphed over time, of course. This is the last year that they're going to be funding, so we are looking for either an additional grant or the county to pick up her position for us. A little more concerned about that now with the possibility that the budget may not, county's seeing a lot of change over in its own right, so a little worried about the budget for this coming year. Nobody to do a budget right now with no finance director for the county, so, but, we are hopeful that we can get that, position covered either with grant or with, the county will pick it up. So we don't wanna lose that position if at all possible. The state library directors are gearing up, what we call APLA, Association of Public Library Administrators, which is the directors from all across the county libraries in the state. There is one municipal library, the Chapin Library in Myrtle Beach. There is one actual municipal library. But we are gearing up for the legislative season starting in January. So we already are looking at how to, who we need to talk to and how we need to do that and all that kind of thing. The thing that we're going to be asking for this year is an increase in state aid for the smaller counties. Most of the counties, there's about a half and half break out of the 46 counties in the state. Several of the systems are consortium systems. Allendale, Jasper, Hampton, Jasper, and Aiken, Bamberg, Barnwell, and Edgefield. Anyway, so there's about 42 systems in the state. But each of those counties does contribute to the library. If it's a consortium, they contribute to it. All that to say that there's about a 50-50 split between the counties that earn per capita. In other words, their population is large enough that they get $275 per capita in state aid. And then the smaller counties that are below a certain level population, I think the break is like 50, 60 some thousand, they get a minimum grant that's just, there's a floor to it and that's what they get. Currently, they're getting 150,000. And our goal this year is to try to get them up to $200,000. Because for the smaller systems, smaller counties, I mean, a county that has a population of 15 or 20,000, that kind of thing, that's probably the bulk of their budget. You know, they get money, they're supposed to get money from local, and they do. But I mean, in some cases, for some of the smaller counties, that money that they get from the state library, that pass-through money that is, from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, that probably pays their professional librarian, their director. They have to have an MLIS, Master in Library Information Science. So they probably are using that state aid grant to pay their director. And for a lot of their other services, probably the only way that they afford a lot of the books that they get. With inflation and everything else has been the way it is, so we're trying to get from $150,000 to $200,000 floor for the minimum grant counties. We'll still be at $275 here in Oconee, obviously per capita, because we're slightly above it, you know, 78,607. We're kind of a little higher than Midway, so we get the per capita, but we are looking out for the smaller counties, the Abbeville's and the, you know, the Allendale, Jasper, Hampton, Jasper. We're looking out for the, you know, Marlboro, looking out for some of the smaller counties in the state. So that's our approach this year. Our legislative day, I believe, is January 21st. That's a Wednesday, I think. So any of you available on a Wednesday? I might see if a few board members want to travel down to Columbia and be right there, because the state library director, agency head, presents her budget to the House Subcommittee on Ways and Means. It's the Public Education and Higher Education Subcommittee, K-12 Subcommittee. I forget, the title has changed, so I forget, I apologize for that. But our own Bill Whitmire is the chair of that subcommittee. So it might be helpful to have a few board members from Oconee to be there to cheer on Miss Lisa Aiken when she presents her budget request to the House Ways and Means Committee. We'll talk more about that.
Great.
But anyway, that's all for the director's report.
Okay. All right, update on the library strategic plan.
Where'd my agenda go? I have the agenda. Ah, there it is. Okay. Anyway, let me. I apologize. Let me get. I meant to pull this up as well. So give me just a moment and I'll get this pulled up. Okay. So, executive summary, don't really need to go over that all that much. Mission and vision, pretty much, you know, we didn't really recommend any changes to that. But then, we kind of are still going with a theme that we've used for the last couple of strategic plans of using our initials, OCPL. So we have operations, community involvement, programming, and libraries. And you all did receive a copy of this, obviously, in your backup material. And I know there was some discussion about it prior to, you know, tonight's meeting. So I don't know if you all want me to go through it piece by piece, or if you all just wanna discuss it, or you tell me how you wanna do it. or,
I say discuss.
I do too.
Yeah, let's
Discuss.
discuss,
okay,
Friendly discussion.
yes.
yeah. You just tell me which things we need to discuss so I can get to that page or whatever, but yeah, I mean, before you make any kind of motions or anything else, you'll wanna, have discussion.
Well, I just wrote it down for me. Is it okay just to read my thoughts? Okay.
Yeah,
And I don't really know where this would go into because, I started at community involvement, goal 2, objective 2. Find incentives to encourage staff to receive additional training in Spanish language and cultural sensitivity. My thoughts are, I would like to add onto that. So I'll just read what I've got. A little bit of history when this is my first time ever serving on a library board. I had to think about it before I did so. And what came to my mind, it's 1 Corinthians 4:2. It is required of stewards that they be found faithful. And what that means to me is this is taxpayer money. Our budget's very large. I think we need to have great responsibility on how we treat those funds, where we're including 100% of the public, not just a certain population. I first like to acknowledge and celebrate the meaningful steps already taken to support our diverse community. Recent efforts such as maintaining bilingual staff, hosting literacy programs, and expanding community outreach. They have strengthened our ability to serve residents with dignity, respect, and inclusion. We are grateful to our staff, volunteers, our community partners, whose dedication has laid a strong foundation for the future. Yet, we find our county continues to face growing challenges in literacy, workforce readiness, and access to essential resources. More work is needed. Building on the progress that has been achieved, I hope the library's 2026 strategic direction will include prioritizing expanding initiatives that have the greatest impact on our community literacy and long-term well-being. While we can continue to have the staff who are fluent in Spanish to ensure the equitable service, I believe our focus needs to support the overall education and practical needs of all residents. And as we were walking in here, a question was raised to Blair that maybe we could get Brittany, our Oconee County grant writer, to write a grant to bring somebody in to work towards that literacy as an add-on, as another job within the library, which I think is a really positive idea. That way we're not taking away from some of their goals, but we're adding to it, to the whole population. In doing A1 and Grok and all that, our elementary is at 45% literacy rate. Middle school's a little bit better at 47%, our high school's at 52%. That's sad. And we're doing a disservice to our children and actually some adults that are illiterate. And I think if we could put that into our program with the help of maybe another grant, so that money is not asking the county to give more money for it. It's not free money, it's grant money, it is taxpayer money, but it's not coming from Oconee County. I would like to see that. I also, we have Kim Jackson's well thought out ideas that are in your backup documents that I wholly agree. I think if we can incorporate them, it would be a great step. These initiatives build upon the important work already being done while addressing the county's increasing need for comprehensive literacy and life skills support. By leveraging partnerships and volunteer expertise at no additional financial cost to the library, we position our institution as a compassionate, forward-looking center of learning, stability, and opportunity for 2026 and beyond. And if you'd be so kind, I do have one other comment, and this is, please don't take offense to it. I personally, in our mission statement, I don't see the word literacy. We are asking our taxpayers for $1.7 million yearly. I believe in the mission statement, there should be something there about literacy. That's my personal opinion. And I would love to have all this discussed and hear all you guys' ideas as well.
Judy, well said.
Thank you.
I agree with everything you said.
Thank you.
In looking at some of these things this week, I was doing some demographics research, and that's when I sent out that letter to everybody. And I was really looking at, why are we doing all of this Spanish programming? Not because there's anything wrong with Spanish programming, but because it seems to me English literacy, and this is where I came across it. In the demographics, I was going, oh my goodness, when I didn't see the 45%, it's even worse. I saw 52% ELA proficiency for children, and then I didn't realize that the adult literacy rate was so low in this county. It was shocking, really, because, I came from another county where literacy rate was pretty high. That's not necessarily that's not where our training is, but I think it's right alongside the library mission. If there's any way we could partner with the school district to help them out, I mean, our librarians are literacy experts. And to do some functional literacy work, I think is right in our lane. As a library, there's nothing, we have all the content, we have all the books.
Sure.
If there's any way we could partner, and I did talk to a few school district members over the last couple of weeks when I came across this data, and they were extremely excited about it. And they said, actually, one of the things they brought up was Baby Read was huge. They said, if you could just get Baby Read in there, which we have, but it's volunteer-based for the most part. But the reason I addressed the Spanish part was because we don't have the money. So resources are limited. If we're gonna have to trade something out, I thought if we're going to address the entire community, I know the Hispanic community in general, there are some poor language skills I've just noticed in walking around. So it would kind of help the entire community. We have a local community that's low, that has a low literacy rate, and then we also have so many newcomers that are not speaking the English language, which is gonna put them in a detrimental position as far as employment, just being treated fairly in the marketplace and so on. So anyway, I think it's just a win-win across the board, but where's the money gonna come from? Where are we gonna get the position? Do we have anyone that can do it? And the first person I thought of was Carrie Brock, because she does seem to be sort of a jack of all trades, at least when I look at her job description. So anyway, I don't know if that's where we'll get it, but I love the idea of looking at Brittany Martin to write a grant to find a literacy expert that we could bring in here and maybe help us and possibly partner with the school district. I also talked to someone who said they might be able to provide us with warm bodies, that they were actually kind of excited about it. So anyway, we can do that maybe with after-school literacy programs and adult literacy programs. I know they're out there, but it seems to me that's more within the library jurisdiction than necessarily, social work, for example. Whereas that, I know that people come in for resources, but our bread and butter is reading and literacy at the library. So if we could somehow accommodate that, whether it's a trade out or we bring in someone entirely new, something to think about.
I think that's a wonderful, literacy has always been an issue that this area has struggled with, and it's a huge problem all throughout the Southeast, throughout the United States, and I think it should definitely be added, but I don't think we should trade out the Spanish-speaking programs for that. I think we should have both. And really, all we're stating in this is we're going to seek out programs to cater to some of these folks. And one of the best ways, one of the biggest factors in why that literacy rate is so low, it's so hard for people to learn English when there isn't anybody that can speak Spanish that can teach it to them. I taught overseas for a year. I taught English in Russia. And when I first got there, I didn't speak any Russian at all. And if you ask me to speak it now, I can't speak it now either because it was way too long ago. But when I started learning the language, I became a much more effective teacher because I could talk to them in a language they understood, and I could show them, okay, this is what this word means, this is what I mean by this, versus just talking to them and having them struggle. And I think we as a county, if we want to promote literacy and if we want to build a community where everybody is working towards the goal of literacy, keeping these kind of programs where we're offering Spanish, and we're offering, programs in their language is going to get them connected with the library so we can connect them with people to help them learn that language. I mean, if we look at language history and how it's been instructed in Oconee County, do you know what the first school in Oconee County, in what became Oconee County, it wasn't Oconee County, that was Pickens District, do you know what language they taught in? They taught in German, because the Germans established Walhalla. They had German language classes in Walhalla up until I think 1917. Of course, that's when World War I, we joined World War I, so they canceled all of it. But they offered 1 or 2 courses in that up until that point. But we have a long tradition and history here of working with different languages and learning English through those languages. And I think we as a county, and I think we as a library, we can do all that, especially if we're going after grant money. And if we're going after grant money for that things, I think that's a wonderful idea. I mean, I love what Judy said, I think is absolutely beautiful. And I think what we're all trying to do, I think adding to the vision statement and the vision statement and the mission statement, that literacy is our goal, should be completely, I 100% agree with that. But I don't think we should cut that whole section of the program out, if that makes sense. That's just my opinion.
Well, I completely agree with the ESOL and
Yeah,
ESL.
yeah.
I think we need to actually expand that.
Yeah.
And I think, is that all volunteer now, Blair, the ESOL, or is that run by the library?
That is currently what we are able to offer. Goal 2, Objective 2, right now is all volunteer.
And
The
then
one
the
thing I want to add is
And that's why under that objective, we say seek out community partners to offer relevant classes, programs, particularly ESL, ESOL, and pathways to citizenship.
English as I don't know what
when I think of a library, I think of literacy, reading. And according to the Barbara Bush Foundation, South Carolina ranks 38th in the country in literacy. That's sad. So, and we have 80,000 so people in Oconee County. So I agree that we need to make this more of a universal system where we need to include the entire county. We can include the Hispanic population, but we also need to look at raising our literacy rates. I could not find anywhere where Oconee ranked in the state, but I think that overall, just 38 for the whole country is really sad.
I think we should certainly add that into either, what do you think, programming, or we could add it into their literacy programming, or we seek, or we have a desire to increase literacy programs?
I was sorry, in my thought, I was gonna leave that up to Blair, where I was leaning towards programming, but then I thought, that's not, let Blair try to figure out where, if we vote that that's what we wanna do, where to put that there.
Well, how about goal 2, under programming, goal 2, continue offering programs in Spanish in multiple branches and staffing. How about offering programs in functional literacy at multiple branches as staffing and resources allow, and then include the Spanish programming under objective 2, where it's to offer Spanish classes and programs, particularly ESOL, and pathways to citizenship. So you could include that as a, functional literacy is kind of the umbrella under which all of that would sit, because if you're looking at the Spanish programming in order to bring literacy rates up in the Hispanic community, it seems to me under objective 2. So but just goal 2, offer programs in functional literacy at multiple branches as staffing and resources allow, because we don't have a lot of staffing and resources for that now. That's a program that would have to be developed, and I'm really,
Well, I think the goal is, though, 2 is continue offering programs in Spanish to draw people in as well.
Right, but then
And-
put that down in
yeah.
objective too, under
Yeah.
that umbrella.
But I think if if we just copied that whole objective, or we added a goal 6, I mean, can we do, I mean, we don't have a limit on how many goals we can put on this. Let's just add a goal 6 of functional literacy. And then we can include all of that throughout the whole county and keep goal 2 as is. Because, I mean, the point of having the Spanish programs is you get people in, you get them connected with the library, they see there's people that speak their language there, and you get them connected in with the ESL and with the rest of the programming, and you guide it in. It's kind of like, my grandfather ran a grocery store out in Country Junction for years and years and years, and he used to take a loss on sugar. Why did he take a loss on sugar? He'd put an ad in the paper, and sugar was like 20 cents less than everybody else. So people would come in, buy all this sugar. And my dad asked him, why do you always sell sugar at a loss? And he said, well, that guy who bought sugar, he also bought, a ham and, 3 packs of cigarettes, and we made this much money. And that's just, that's how they did it. So you draw it in, hook, bring them, and then you go from there. So I think we add a goal 6 with literacy versus taking goal 2 out.
So who's gonna do that? If we add a goal 6, then we have a whole new staffing issue. Whereas if it's here at goal 2, I'm hoping we could bring that under the umbrella of Carrie Brock. So she runs the functional literacy program, and then one of her
Well,
programs is that.
this is not asking for, employees, it's community partners and volunteers and classes. I mean, they can do a class at the library for free, and this is just saying this is a goal of ours. It's not like we're hiring somebody to do it. And, the literacy would be the same thing. We're having programs, we're having volunteers, so it's not really a cost thing. I mean, sure, we've got the new functional space, or Miss Mariah room as well, a new meeting room there, so we've got multiple meeting rooms, so it's not that we don't have enough space for meetings. I mean, that's just my thoughts on it, is why limit it? I mean, these are our goals, this is our vision, this is our strategic plan. I mean, it's not, we're not budgeting, a position for this, if that makes sense. We're just saying this is what we want to try and do, if that makes sense.
If I may, respectfully, just to offer some factual information and perhaps some clarity. Obviously, we have a school district of Oconee County, which also gets hundreds of millions of dollars a year, okay? I currently have 2 people in our youth services department. I have a youth services librarian who does programming, who also attends literacy nights at each of the elementary schools, so already participates in their literacy nights. We take the bookmobile oftentimes as well to bring the kids out and show them the bookmobile. So we're already partnering with the school district for literacy nights. I'm not saying all literacy, I'm just saying literacy nights. We also already are partnering with them. We do also send Emily, our youth services librarian, to regular meetings with the media specialists, librarians in the schools, as well as the literacy coaches, okay? So she is already doing that work. Also, we do summer reading. I mean, that's our whole bread and butter. We do summer reading to help improve literacy, improve outcomes, continue to have kids reading in the summertime and not do the summertime slide, okay? So we already have 2 personnel, a youth services librarian and a youth services assistant. We already have 2 personnel dedicated to largely literacy, but also entertaining programming and stuff for the kids, get them interested in the library, get them in the first place, and keep them interested in the library. If it's all education all the time, if we're just gonna duplicate what the school district's doing, y'all could just, we could cut, as you say, $1.7 million in local funds, $216,000 in state aid funds, and just let the school district handle it. But, we still have to be, we go back to our mission, okay? We provide resources. That includes, literacy nights where we go participate, all the different resources that we provide, experiences to satisfy curiosity, connect people with their community, encourage lifelong discovery. It's very broad, and it was meant to be broad. We can throw literacy in there, we can throw anything you want in there, we can make it a great big word salad. But we have to be careful, one, to stay in our lane. The last thing I wanna do is step on the school district. They've been good partners with us. I think increasing our partnership with the school district and finding ways to maybe bring in somebody that does teach, like adult literacy or that kind of thing, would be far better for us to pursue than to try to come up with an entire new program of literacy when they're already doing it. Okay, so I offer that, again, respectfully, because I fear sometimes that, and I mean, you all get my reports and you look at the website, I know you all are very informed. But I fear sometimes that when it gets really down in the weeds, you all don't know that we are already doing many of these things, okay? So I just wanna point out, we already have 2 staff dedicated to doing a lot of this same work that you're talking about. Bringing in someone else to step on their toes as a grant paid employee, I mean, I'm barely gonna be lucky if I can keep Carrie. And Carrie is a licensed social worker, that is her bailiwick. You know, one of the reasons why we cast our net broader this last time, when we hired a youth services librarian, is because we were having trouble finding somebody with strictly a master's in library science. We lucked out, we broadcasted it a little better, asked for somebody with a master's in education or a master's in library science. We got somebody with a master's in education. Emily was a teacher last year over in Spartanburg County. She's already doing this work. I even spoke to her today, we can turn her loose to do a lot of these kind of things. But rather than coming up with an entire new initiative that kind of gets us over in the lane of the school district, where I don't really wanna step on any toes, particularly since they're getting ready to hire a new administrator and that kind of thing, we really wanna have a good partnership with them. I would respectfully say that, yes, we can add initiatives for literacy and say literacy in several places, but we're already doing a lot of that work, and we really need to let the school district do their job. I do have a statement from Tara, if y'all will allow. I feel obligated to read it since, you know, she could not be here tonight due to health reasons. But Tara Weeks, another member of the board, she said, "My apologies for a delayed response and the absence from this meeting tonight. I'm dealing with an ongoing health issue and am unable to attend. After reading through all the emails, it seems everyone on our board can agree, one, that we have a growing Hispanic population with understandably unreliable data about the true percentages of their population, and we do have functional literacy as a primary goal for all of our residents, too. The libraries offer programming, materials, and services in both English and Spanish, as having staffing and resources will allow. That serves the goal of enhancing functional literacy for all. Having both languages available helps increase understanding and communication between our Spanish and English-speaking residents. There's many studies that have found a positive correlation between bilingual education and foreign language learning, and overall higher academic and English literacy scores." And she cites a couple of studies, which I'll make available to y'all, I'm not gonna read them out. But she basically, does want to vote for the plan as it is currently written, to incorporate literacy and continue to offer programs in Spanish. She does appreciate, she says, "I appreciate Kim and everyone else sharing thoughts ahead of time." And she said, "Coming up with various electronic communications involving the board was a goal of hers when she was on the Policy and Personnel Committee." So trying to, kind of manage the communications that, we have about all of this, as well. And then there was just a note to me about her not being here tonight, and I won't read that part. But she wanted to just insert that, we pretty much, again, I think maybe as Cliff pointed out, that we leave the things that are in there and we can add the literacy. I think, this is what some folks are talking about, I think, is adding to, not just taking away. There's no reason why we can't do the things with literacy and that kind of thing, but we leave the programming in there. Honestly, it's not costing us any money. We already, part of the grant that we got for Carrie, one of the very first things that we did after we got Carrie, I don't even think it was 6 months later, we hired a Spanish language translator. And so Amy Saylor is our Spanish language translator that we pay to assist Carrie in helping the Spanish community, Hispanic community. So we already have that, we already have somebody that does that work. Honestly, we've been utilizing volunteers. We had a very good volunteer group in Walhalla for a while. Some of the folks unfortunately have had to move on and have had to find jobs and that kind of thing. But one of them we ended up hiring, one of our staff currently in Walhalla, Imelda, is, Hispanic. And, we hired her. She started out with us as strictly a volunteer, and then we hired her as a part-time circulation assistant. So we have a couple Spanish-speaking people at least our Walhalla branch, our main branch. And we already do a lot of programming. A lot of times we're able to offer the programs both in English and Spanish because we do have Amy, particularly some of the ones concerning health, diabetes, that kind of thing that we've been offering here lately, that we've been partnering. I mean, we have partnerships with a lot of different places. We've got partnerships with the Extension Service to offer no diabetes by heart programs that we've been doing. And, the more of this that we can offer in Spanish as well as English to encourage those folks to come and, see all of our programs and see all of the things that the library offers, that's gonna get them in the door. So,
Well, I think if we wanna add to programming, add bullet 6 about literacy, I mean, it sounds like that's, would be, your recommendation, Blair?
Well, again, I know that we're doing a lot of work, and I did know that she was going to the literacy nights, but the fact remains that we are an abysmally low literacy rated county. And so anything we can do to bring that up, I think we went back and forth on the percentage rates, but we're talking about, I think it's 7% of the population now are Spanish speakers. And we've got, I would imagine a lot of those folks, that 7%, and 93% of the rest of the county that is still at a 52% ELA level, 45% in elementary school. It is the school district's issue, but any way that we can come alongside and help is going to help. That's what Carrie does here. She leverages existing partnerships with Extension Services, the Clemson University, Tri-County Tech, all of these, they have to be able to read the language competently to even move on. So, and I think that the Spanish programming, I agree that it gets them in the door. I think there's no problem with doing some of it, but it handicaps people. I know this. I have a background in it. I brought 5 children into my home that spoke not a stick English, and advocated for many, many children from foreign countries, and watched the comparison. My children were thrown into school, sink or swim. And I remember the principal saying, "What do you want me to teach them?" I said, "English." So they sat there and drew pictures, and they were sink or swim, and they learned English. As a matter of fact, my daughter was a top reader in her elementary school in first grade within 1 year of arriving from China. And these kids couldn't speak any English. The children who went into, there were no translators for Chinese, but the children who were in the ESOL program with her initially stayed in that program for years, because they were providing them Spanish help, and so they didn't have to learn the language. So I'm just saying, my personal experience is that if we don't focus on English literacy, we're gonna hold folks back. These same children, by the way, at 12th grade, were still on a 2nd grade reading level. My daughter, they were all full rides to college and extremely high vocabularies. And that was way, way, way before. That's not because of what happened at home. Love to take credit for it. It was because they didn't have the translators. So they're just I had to take them to the local Chinese restaurant and say, "Will you please tell them this?" So I do understand what you're saying, Cliff.
Yeah.
You do have to have somebody there to at least put them, and that's why I agree with the bilingual staff, that we need somebody to point them in the right direction. But in Spanish programming, where we're doing the entire program in Spanish, I think if we're gonna choose, if we're gonna have to choose
But we don't have to.
resource-wise,
He said it doesn't cost us any money to do either.
if we don't have to choose, then let's just add it on. But if we have to choose, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I think we don't have to choose. I think we can have it both. And I think ultimately, within the walking distance of our library, you know, in Wahala and in Seneca. In Wahala, it was close to 30%, and that's, I know that's very much underreported of folks who, and of, you know, socioeconomic levels, it was some of the lowest with the highest illiteracy. And of course, because, you know,
Some of the lowest with what?
the highest illiteracy and
Okay.
the lowest income level. And, you know, 40% of the walking distance of Wahala is, or excuse me, 30% of walking distance of Wahala, it's probably closer to about 40%, is Hispanic. And I think if you take that program off, you're gonna lose that section of the population. And you're gonna get a section of the population that's not going to get into the library and get into those programs. And, you know, I've met your daughters, and they are very smart, wonderful ladies. So I think that, you know, a lot of it, you know, possibly had to do with how smart they are and how good you raised it too. Because I know, you know, when I was teaching and I taught various ages, you know, from middle school age up until I was teaching some people and they were 40 and 50 years old. And, you know, they were learning English as a second language. And being able to communicate some with them, you know, in a limited fashion, because my Russian was never, ever that good. And I was born and raised in South Carolina. I have the accent and it doesn't go away, and you speak a different language, so it's very hard to understand. But they could understand kind of what I was saying there, and we could, you know, we made big strides. And by the end of the year, by the end of the time when I was learning it, they were speaking much better, understanding much better, and I was able to make connections that I wasn't able to do when I was just talking and pointing and trying my best. So, you know, I think, you know, what Blair said is a valid point. What everybody said here is a valid point. Is, you know, literacy should and foremost be our goal, the school district's goal. It should be included, but since it's not costing us really any money and it's just something that could be added, let's just add it to it, and let's keep having that. To go back to my, you know, analogy, let's keep making that our sugar to bring people in. And let's make sure that the library is a place that everybody can go to and will want to go to. And those programs and things that we offer, that's what draws people in. And, you know, we need to keep all those options open, especially if it's stuff that, you know, that people are volunteering for, or it's not costing us any taxpayer money.
If it doesn't
And,
cost.
yeah, and it's not.
Can I ask you the 40% that you say that come to Wahala that's Hispanic?
In city limits, yes.
In city limits?
Yeah, or 30%.
Do you have a percentage of that are asking for help to learn English?
Oh, I have no idea.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah. But,
Well, I agree, but
That's what
like
we're
what
saying,
Cliff
because
is
that
saying,
only
yeah.
helps them. If we have a place where, for free, that we can offer to teach them English, that only is gonna help them in their workforce. It's gonna help them with their children in school. It's gonna help them when they have to do healthcare. It's gonna help them in every single area. So that, we're not saying to disclude. We're saying, or I'm saying, we'd like to see, to take that 40% in Wahala and in Seneca. And if we can have the volunteer and community work.
right, that's what this
You have
report is saying.
sign up sheet,
Yeah.
say, come learn it.
Yeah, this is what the way it stands as is saying is, we want to promote programs where these people, you know, can come into the library, and there'll be programs they can sign up for, there'll be programs that they're going to, and the way we get them into the library is Spanish-speaking programs. So, yeah, I
They're
mean,
not
that's,
Spanish-speaking
Well, what's-
programs. That's
what's
not what
the
I'm saying.
goal?
the
What
goal
the
is to get them
goal?
into the library to sign up for these other things. It's like the analogy of the
But they
store.
don't, if they can't speak English, what's the goal?
Yeah.
For them to learn English, and for them to.
But that, we're not teaching that. That's
Yeah, we
not a
are.
goal on here.
ESL, right here, goal, create, go back, sorry, to the goals there, excuse me.
That's
programming,
Okay,
right
so,
here.
so how many have signed up for this, or is this a future goal?
This is a future goal. So continue to offer programs in Spanish at multiple branches as staffing and resources allow. Seek out volunteers to supplement staff involvement. Objective 2, seek out community partners to offer relevant classes or programs, particularly English as a second language and pathways to citizenship. So the point of it is, like I said about the grocery store, you bring them in with the discounts and then they buy all the products.
Okay, so I agree with that. I think what Judy and you, we're kind of arguing the same thing. We don't want to set up two parallel societies.
Right.
We don't want to have Spanish programming over here for our Hispanic residents and English programming over here.
Thank
We
you.
want to have Spanish programming that leads people into literacy, because I think
Correct.
they're probably a good
That's
portion
what
of.
this programming is saying though.
But I don't,
But is it?
I, again, respectfully, I will say we are currently offering an ESL class.
yes,
Do we have, how much, what's the percentage of anybody signing up for?
it's been pretty
I
slim
think,
lately.
well, the gentleman did take a break, it's supposed to be, I think, restarting in January. I don't remember how many he had prior to, taking a hiatus.
He came in right after the Constitution class,
Yeah.
that's why I was aware of that. But what I'd like to see is almost like a professional development of that. And volunteers are great, but I'd like to see a professional kind of literacy program that we could get started, and that's why, I don't know if, that's why I was asking about the grant for Carrie. Could we put that under her purview so that she's, like Cliff said, offering the Spanish, and trying to get these folks into the ESOL programs? Because basically, we're keeping folks out of the market, they're out of the marketplace. They're a separate community.
Right.
They're gonna keep, and they're gonna be taken advantage of,
Right.
low wage.
And that's not fair to them.
No, it's not, and,
Yeah.
and if people, we're not being truthful.
Right, but
And so, yeah.
we can, but the purpose of this, the way that it's worded, I think is fine in
If
doing
that's what
that.
you're saying, yes, I agree
Yeah,
with you
yeah,
there. Bring
yeah.
them in, and then we need to put this all under a functional literacy thing, not forgetting the homegrown folks here that are just,
Right.
I mean,
Some are
they're not
wor- some are
confident
worse.
We're
in
already,
English.
we're offering that though,
I
right?
will,
Because these are our customers.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I appreciate all the discussion, and respectfully, I'm not trying to cut it off. Y'all talk as long as you want. That's not I'm the staff liaison. It's not my place to tell you how to do anything. But I will say that, we have this that's been presented to you all that the staff came up with, that we did a survey on for an entire month in September. We have this, so I think respectfully, if you are gonna try to vote on this tonight, we may be too far gone. I don't know. We may be to the point where we need to completely revise it.
I
and-
disagree
You
with
have no
that,
faith.
though,
I think
because
it's
that's why we're
great,
talking
yeah.
about it.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is I don't know if we're so far gone on this thing with the suggestions and the additions and whatever, that we can vote on it tonight. I don't know that. So what I
But-
wanna do, and this is why I'm saying this respectfully, I just wanna draw us back to what's here, what we have, what exists, talk a little bit about it, and then talk about what we wanna add. I'll write anything down that we need to add, or, take out, or whatever, but I guess, we've gotten so far out on things, I just wanna bring us back to, what we already have here, and just, see what, like, if there's an area where we're good on and we don't need to change, good, we walk right through that and keep going. The areas we do wanna change, we can, make an amendment to vote on, and then you can still vote on it tonight. If there is too much that needs changed, then respectfully, I'd say, we get a bunch of notes down, I'll revise the document and bring it back to you all in January. That's just, I think, I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to cut off discussion, y'all can talk however long you want.
I think we can just, to go back to the beginning with the statement that was made, I do think adding is great. I mean, I think there's a point, this is subtle, so I think adding will bring the quiet part out loud. But even in the bookmobile conversation, that's why I brought it up in the email. It says reach out to travel to different organizations and partner with them for literacy. And I think, as it was stated there, the fundamental goal of a library is to make reading accessible. And I agree with Cliff wholeheartedly that part of that is bringing people into the space, making people feel comfortable and confident that this is a space that I can make mistakes, and I can grow, and I can experience different things. Just like we rent out telescopes or loan out like National Park Service or state parks passes, like those things aren't directly correlated to literacy, but they're growing the community that's involved and participating in the library system, and they're wonderful for that. So I think saying the quiet part out loud by adding a goal that kind of formalizes that goal and wish of the board to add functional literacy, whether it's specifically for adults, we say continuing literacy programs for K through 12 age groups, and add goals towards adult literacy. I think the additive conversation is much more, at least where I'm thinking, is productive for the library, than an either or conversation.
I agree.
Well, I guess, one of the reasons I wanted to just get back to the plan as it was presented in the backup material is because I know there's a lot of places in there where there's really not anything that you all have any issues with. And also, for instance, under operations there, goal 2, redesign bookmobile service model to serve individuals who cannot visit a branch during normal hours rather than just serving the rural areas of the county. We have had some success, I mean, we have very strong stops in places like Long Creek, Fairplay, way away from the library. Places that will probably never be able to build a branch. I think way back in the day, Fairplay had a branch, got rid of it because, again, nobody was coming or whatever, but we do have a very strong stop there. We have a strong stop at Long Creek. We have some strong stops at, we have a new one at the DAR school, honestly, in Salem, that has become hugely popular. We have one at Belvedere, the senior center there at Belvedere, hugely popular. I think the reason we had this goal in here to seek out new areas like shopping centers, medical offices, or apartment complexes where population density is higher is because there are some stops where we tried and either nobody is coming now. One of our stronger stops, I think, is, used to be Kiwi Place, I think it's Kiwi Square now. Anyway, it's the, nursing facility or assisted living facility there on 130 as you're heading out of town. We have like one person left that comes and she doesn't come out most of the time. That's a stop we're gonna probably have to quit. There's several of them that we've had to quit, so we kinda wanted to redesign bookmobile service. And so you see there, objective 1, seek out new areas. Objective 2, work with non-traditional community partners like food banks and others to incorporate literacy with other services. So the services has come in, the stuff that we're offering, the resources, that's where Carrie comes in. My main concern with some of the discussion that I'm hearing is Mission Creek. She's not trained in literacy. She's a licensed social worker. I've got, somebody who has a master's in education that can do literacy. That's Emily. That's our youth services librarian. And I have an adult services librarian, and she has a master's in library science. So, I have people that can do this. We have no problem, following any directive you give us. But I have to work within the parameters of my funding and the parameters of the staffing that I have. I'm not gonna get new staffing, even with a grant. Frankly, if I'm gonna go for a grant, it's to try to figure out how to keep Carrie, honestly.
So functional literacy is better served under Emily. And,
Yes, ma'am.
okay,
That
so
is-
that's where it needs to
That
be.
is I think that, and look, any kind of partnership, having her and Carrie go and you can talk about, okay, how can we, offer you better services, or hey, you don't qualify, well, I think right now everybody qualifies for school lunch, but you don't qualify for school lunch, or you need this or that. It can be an and, it can be, hey, wow, we're here talking about how you can afford better housing or whatever. Let's also talk about the library has all these great programs, and we partner with the school for your kids. I'm just concerned that, we're trying to utilize Carrie in a totally different way that's outside of her training. That's not gonna help her, and it's not gonna help the library. That's Mission Creek that I fear, is just, it's not gonna be productive. I think, it's fine if we wanna pursue, when we say, like a couple of you have said, literacy is our goal, but I think there's ways to do that without having to reinvent the wheel.
Okay, and I like what you said, it's better put under the person who has the know-how, which is Emily. So Carrie is not the person to carry out a functional literacy program. That would be,
And the reason, but that's why we said there, though, we said to incorporate literacy with other services. She's already going out and doing the services. So we take the bookmobile out, and if we're suddenly taking the bookmobile to, the homeless shelter or somewhere else, and we can offer, books and literacy and materials and everything else along with these other social services, that's what that objective was about under operations.
so Carrie does the bookmobile?
I'm sorry?
Carrie does the bookmobile?
No.
Oh.
She would work with the bookmobile.
Okay,
To help us do those things. And then under, community involvement, there again, we are seeking local partners for language services when bilingual staff are not available. We're looking for local partners, we're looking for somebody with the school district, we're looking for somebody with, you know, the local Hispanic community. We're not trying to add staff, we're not trying to add personnel, we're not spending any more money there. Try to cultivate the volunteer network to support paid staff. The incentives to encourage staff to receive additional training in Spanish language and cultural sensitivity, that can be as basic as, can we learn a few phrases so when they come in and, you know, you have, y'all, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking when you see an adult come in, but yeah, they don't know any, English, as you mentioned, and they have their kid who is going to public school here in South Carolina, and they're learning English first. They may not even speak Spanish at home, I don't know for sure, but they're translating for their adult. That's not very,
It's a problem.
that's kind of,
Yeah. That's what we're getting at, it's a
I'm
problem.
trying to come up with a word, it's basically sort of, it's not very empowering, you know?
Not at all.
So when we talk about adding, you know, a little bit of Spanish language, a little cultural sensitivity, and when I say incentives, I'm not talking spending money. I'm talking, can I ask the friends for a couple of gift cards? I mean, we're not spending money here, folks. And then new tools to allow staff to assist patrons in learning digital literacy. That's a big place that we could do a lot right now. I mean, you know, you talk about AI, you talk about all these other kind of things. Brittany is already working with a partner at Clemson University, to try to teach digital literacy, how to not fall for scams, how to make sure that you know, what you're doing in AI is productive and that kind of stuff. We're already working on that. That's why that's in there, so that we can continue that initiative. So there's really nowhere in here where we've said, hey, we're gonna do so much focus on Spanish language or whatever that we're gonna exclude other things. This is just, you know, we're already doing it. We're doing it with Amy, we're doing it with Carrie, we're doing it with our volunteers. So we just wanna keep doing it. We just wanted it to be in there, you know, if nothing else, for visibility. Because a lot of this came out of the survey that we gave to the public in September. So I would feel remiss if we just said, well, you know, we're gonna do whatever we're gonna do, and that survey was worthless. Several of these initiatives came right out of the survey, so I feel like, you know, we're not respecting the wishes of the community if we don't.
Who did the survey go to?
I'm sorry?
Who did the survey go to in the county?
We did it on the website, we had copies in every branch. I mean, I don't know who responded to it.
So in all four?
We have,
All four, it was in all four libraries?
that's correct, it was in all 4 branches and online. And we advertised it on social media to say, hey, go take the survey. So it was also on our Facebook, it was also on our Instagram. And we had paper copies at every branch. And I think we might have had a couple of volunteers that say, hey, I'll distribute these at my next meeting, da-da-da-da. I don't know that for sure, because we didn't, I don't think we collected information on where they came from when they came back,
Okay.
other than demographic. Was it Walhalla?
But it was
it
all
Seneca?
throughout
Was
the
it-
county.
Right, but, you know, where they might have been distributed, we don't know that.
I think for the sake of time and for this committee, on programming, we either add a section on functional literacy, goal 6, or we accept this as is.
Let's put a goal 6 of functional literacy, and we will address this at the Community Relations Committee, we'll hold a committee. We can go further into depth on that.
'Cause I'm not voting as is, so we're gonna have to add.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, is we add a goal 6. We wanna make what do y'all think?
Well, it just seems, I thought that Carrie Brock could take over the literacy program, but it sounds to me like she is doing, that's not her forte.
Right.
So,
But I think if we just add it into, well, programming is, that's for, you know, the whole library. I mean, would that work, Blair, if we added a goal 6 there? It says one of our goals is improve functional literacy?
I mean,
Can we say continuing programming?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
the
mean,
same thing, right?
it doesn't have to, actually, it doesn't have to be goal 6. I mean, like, goal 1 basically says offer more programming related to technology and workforce development. And we have ways to get that done. Goal 2 says continue offering, so not new, not anything different, not costing us more, in Spanish in multiple branches as we have staffing and resources. Goal 3 is seek partnerships to expand programming. You could either put it anywhere under those, or you could come up with a new goal. Frankly, it could be goal 1 if you want.
I still think that it makes most sense to say goal 2, continue offering programs in functional literacy at multiple branches, and then under that, continue offering programs in Spanish, seek out volunteers to supplement the staff, seek out community partners to expand ESOL, or ESL and ESOL. But even,
But that takes away our goal of offering programs in Spanish.
no, it doesn't, that just puts it underneath functional literacy.
Puts it
That's
underneath.
functional literacy, we do the programs in Spanish in order to bring them in, like you said, to bring them into the library, to, and then particularly the ESL, ESOL. So we just replace the one word Spanish with functional literacy.
Right.
Why
That
would we?
becomes all of goal 2.
But that whole goal has to do with those Spanish programs in ESL. I think we either add a goal or we put it into one of the ones that's already talking about literacy.
But Spanish is part of functional literacy.
It's all part of functional literacy. The whole strategic plan is functional literacy, and
Well,
one way or the
program.
other. Yeah.
Program.
I don't understand why you're so adamant it has to be say Spanish there.
Well, Spanish is what, I mean, we're not offering in German or Japanese. I mean,
Well, right,
No, but the whole.
We do have Afghans here and everything else, I mean,
We
just
do.
functional literacy there, and then if you wanna do a special program for Spanish because our population is so big in Walhalla, then you say,
Objective 2 says ESL.
right, seek out community or continue offering programs in Spanish and seek out community partners to offer relevant classes or programs. I'm just saying, functionally, that's how it works,
I think we
Yeah.
could add another goal and keep that.
because that's part of functional literacy, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean,
If
it's
you
all
do-
part of functional
If you make
literacy.
if you make an outline, that's just where it fits.
And I think if we took that out, that would possibly cause an issue with that community within our library on how they.
But we're not gonna take it out, we're just gonna put it underneath.
Yeah.
We're just gonna
I mean,
put it
Putting
that's-
it underneath and.
Yeah.
But why can't we just add it as another goal? Why do we have to take it out? I mean, we could just add functional literacy as goal 6. I mean, that would be possible, would it not, be Blair, to add a goal 6?
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Who sees the strategic plan? It stays in the library, does it not, and your staff?
It goes
No.
online.
No,
It goes
public.
online?
Yeah,
correct.
Yes.
yeah. It's public,
Everybody
yeah.
can see it, but if they can't read it because it's
Can't
not
read it.
No, but.
I agree, I agree with Kim. I agree
can't
with
read it.
changing it to functional
I think
literacy
that will,
with Spanish underneath
but I think
it.
what will happen is people will see that and they'll point and they'll say, look at how, the library's not offering this.
But we're going to
We
put it
are.
right there under the objective.
Putting it
We can
under
make
I
it the
just-
objective,
I think that we could just put it under goal 6, what does it matter?
because it's faster to do it this way. Continue offering programs in functional
It wouldn't be faster
literacy.
at all, it'd be faster just to add another goal and just put that as that and keep it as is. We can make a motion right now to add it
The
as goal
previous one
6.
is right there on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What are you saying, huh?
the previous one's on the
Previous
website.
23 through 25 plans right there
It's
on the website, and that's where this.
Okay, and so
will
this,
go.
where this
So-
new one will go, okay.
Correct. So it is always
I
available
just,
on our
I
website.
don't, I understand, but I disagree with you. I don't think anybody in the Hispanic program is gonna see this, take the time to read it and say,
Fair.
I don't like they changed Spanish to functional literacy. Because I believe it's a great community. They're gonna come in and wanna use the resources. And if we make sure that they realize that we are there to help improve with learning the language, help improve with getting into better jobs and everything. And as long as we make sure that our library is here to benefit them as well as the other 93%, and that's the only reason we're changing it to that functional literacy, and the Spanish would be underneath as an objective. I don't believe there's anybody in the community that would say, I'm not walking into the library anymore.
Okay,
They're just
can
not
I
gonna do
just-
that.
Can I make I'm gonna make a motion, and I'll do this slowly. Continue offering programs in functional literacy, because we do that with Emily, we do it with Carrie Brock for the Spanish. At multiple branches as staffing and resources allow. Objective 1, continue offering programs in Spanish. Objective 2, 1 becomes 2 now, seek out volunteers to supplement staff. Objective 3, seek out community partners to offer relevant classes or programs, particularly ESL, ESOL. That's a quick change.
And this is changing goal 1?
Goal
Goal
2,
two.
all we do is
And
cross out
objective.
Spanish, put functional literacy, and then objective 1 and 2 become 2 and 3, and objective 1 becomes continue offering programs in Spanish.
But I don't understand the purpose of doing that.
Because the functional literacy that we're aiming for here is English competency, not only with the homegrown folks, but
Right.
also the newcomers that have no English.
But
That's
this
the
whole,
umbrella
that
this
fits
whole
under that.
section is functional literacy though, all the goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, and
Okay, so functional English literacy. So
Yeah, I think the
literacy here in America is English literacy. So I know that these are digital literacy, this is, so we're really arguing semantics here. Down here, it's job programming, well, actually, this is offering more programs in classes, civics, so you're talking about literacy and civics there. But we're using literacy in the old school, we're just talking about functional literacy as in reading the English language. And we don't have that, not only in the Hispanic community, but even in the homegrown
Right.
They can't read and write on grade level.
Right.
And there's no better place to make that happen. And I see this in homeschooling with people that have really, really poor curriculum. They take their kids to the library and they can read.
Sure.
They can read because they get books and they take them home and they read. I grew up in California where they all sang Kumbaya, playing a guitar every day, and I sat at a table and read, and nobody did any classes. And I was reading on a high school level in second grade,
So that,
because I sat and read chapter books on the floor.
your goal, please repeat what
Okay,
your
so
goal would say.
the motion I'm making is that goal 2 becomes continue offering programs in functional literacy at multiple branches as staffing and resources allow. Objective 1 is what we're gonna add. Continue offering programs in Spanish, just that. Objective 2, seek out volunteers to supplement staff involvement. Objective 3, seek out community partners to offer relevant classes or programs, particularly ESL, ESOL, and Pathways to Citizenship. So what that does is that puts Emily on the English, that puts Carrie on the Spanish, and hopefully what we're doing with these Spanish programs is we are fomenting English competency. We're doing, like you said, the
Right.
Spanish programs, get them in the door, and then we say, we've got these ESOL programs, we've got English literacy nights at school, and I'm telling you what, a lot of those parents don't bring their kids to the English literacy night. I did, and they don't, because like you said, they feel so bad because they can't speak anything, and that's the last place they want to be, but it's exactly where they need to be. And so I think if we put it under this goal, it encompasses all of those things together. But it doesn't say a parallel society. Here's your Spanish speakers over here, here's your English speakers over here, and you're never gonna go forward over here.
but
We
it's
know
not,
that.
it's not stating a parallel society.
No,
It's-
but that's,
yeah.
that's kind of what it does when we say functional literacy in English is down here, and we offer programs in Spanish up here. We want to put that in the same place. We want that.
I just don't understand how,
Yeah, we
Wait,
do,
but-
I'm sorry, we do have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, so I have a motion to make those changes. Do I have a second?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Now, what was your discussion?
I was just gonna say, I don't understand how putting that under an objective, like, how is that creating a parallel society? There's people who don't use digital technology in their lives. We're not saying offering programming about digital literacy is promoting a parallel society.
Because it's entirely different than English competency.
I don't understand, well, I feel like making a new goal that talks about literacy programming and having objectives for that highlights that goal more than just shoving it all under one goal and creating a new outline for it.
It just brings it all within the same
Under one umbrella.
umbrella, so that they all work together. Both the literacy expert over there at the library, Emily and her assistant, and Carrie Brock.
I think, and we may have a motion on the floor, so I don't know if we can necessarily do this. I think it'd be better if maybe we tabled this until the January meeting to
Until when?
decide on that. I mean, I think
I'm sorry, until when?
until the January meeting. I mean, I just think that, there's too much disagreement on it, and that would give us some time to research it and check in. I appreciate trying to implement it all together. I appreciate, the discussion here. I just think that we could, we would be better suited if we thought about it and, took some time to determine, because this is important. This is something that is gonna go out to all the libraries and is gonna be on our website. And we wanna make sure that we're not in a position where we're making a mistake or we're causing something in the library to isolate or alienate a section of our population. I mean, that's just my thoughts. I think that if we tabled it until January, that may be our best move.
How does this alienate anybody?
I don't know if it necessarily, because I think they'll look at it and they'll say, because in our past one, didn't we include some of that in that there? And we're moving it down from a goal to an objective. I don't know, and that's why I'd like to table it, because I'd like to research it more.
Well,
How
we
how
have a
do you
motion.
know we're on?
We have a motion, so.
We have a
we'll-
motion and a
we'll-
We're
second.
having a second and we're having a discussion. I just say call for the vote to see how much we disagree. If you have, I mean, we don't know how everybody's gonna vote yet, and yet you said we're all in disagreement.
Well,
We
no,
don't know
no,
that.
I'm just, well, no, I know, that's my thoughts, I'm sorry.
No, you're allowed to have your thoughts. I was just, when you said we're all in disagreement, I was like, well, how do you know? We haven't taken a vote.
Well, we'd have a motion first to add this to that's what you have a motion for, is to add it to the strategic plan, and then we'd have a vote on the strategic plan.
This is just a
Yeah,
motion,
this is just
just
a
a
motion
motion
to add
to
it.
make those
Gotcha,
changes.
yeah, yeah, and we have a motion and a second, so we can call a vote if you want.
So yes. No further discussion? Okay. All in favor of the motion that was made? Okay.
You have to call for the.
All opposed? So that's 4-2, motion carries.
Now, if you want.
5-2. 6-2.
6-2. And so that makes Blair add this.
Add it to the
But
strategic plan.
we have not voted on the whole thing,
Right,
so we
right,
could have
right.
another discussion
That's right.
Yeah, I would like,
in January.
I would like to make a motion that we table the vote on this.
The entirety.
The entirety of the strategic plan until the January meeting. Can I get a second on that?
No, we have a second on it.
Okay.
All in favor of that?
Just two, all opposed?
All opposed?
Okay. Well, we can call a vote on it, I suppose, if we want to, unless we have discussion on the strategic plan.
I have no other, I love everything he added. I have no other comments. Does anybody else?
All right, well, in light of these votes, then, I guess the question stands, is there anything else that you needed to discuss or change in this before you vote on it? Is there any other sections, anything else in here that you needed to change? Do you want to change the mission statement?
That's a good one.
'Cause it's very broad
had
for a
something on
reason.
that.
It already says we provide resources and experiences to satisfy curiosity, connect people with their community, and encourage lifelong discovery. That's lifelong learning, that's literacy, that's resources for all different sorts of things. Y'all are certainly welcome to change it and discuss it, but I mean, since it was already very, deliberately broad,
Right.
Improved literacy?
I don't need.
I think I was the only one that went literacy, so I don't.
No.
No, actually,
No,
it
everybody
should be.
wants literacy.
Improve literacy. I agree with that.
Oh, okay. We didn't discuss it, so I thought I was the only one.
No,
We'll need a motion to add that to the mission statement.
Encourage literacy, maybe? Or do you like improve better?
I
Well,
like improve.
okay, make
I'm
it.
not good at motion. You make it.
just
not.
saying we would
No,
add
yeah, we
that.
could add that, yeah.
Just add that. Where would-
Word literacy.
Yeah.
Improve.
Improve
Improving.
literacy.
Is that a mission or vision?
Mission,
Mission,
I
Okay,
think.
mission, okay.
I make a motion to include improving literacy in our motion,
Yes.
in our mission statement. I need to go home. Can I have a second?
Do we have a
I'll
second?
second that.
Second?
Second is Becky.
Yes.
Just point of clarity, we're gonna add another, where it's after curiosity, as an example, it would be improve literacy, comma,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, or wherever Blair wants to.
Just so Blair knows what he's actually doing.
Yes,
Because
yes.
we don't like those literacy statistics.
That's right,
It made us very depressed.
We want kids to read.
that's right.
Okay,
Now,
any
do we have a
more
motion
discussion
and a
on
second?
that?
So
We
we
have a
have a
motion
second.
and a
We have
second
to
on the
vote.
floor.
All in favor?
Wait.
Wait, you have to ask for discussion. We have discussion.
That was my discussion, sorry, I skipped that part, I'm so sorry. I just wanted the point of clarity so that he knows the directive that we're giving him when we vote.
Sure.
That's good.
Sure. Okay, so all in favor?
You know,
Okay, none opposed. So now do we have a motion to accept?
correct. Now, with those two amendments, with the changes to, the programming section, that we are going to change the wording there under goal 2 and add the one objective. I kinda missed, you didn't change the other two?
No.
Or did you?
No.
All we're doing is basically changing it to say functional literacy, and then we're adding, continued Spanish programming, and then objective 2 is seek out volunteers, and then objective 3 is community partners for relevant classes.
And if you want to
Yes,
change the
so-
order on that, I don't think it really matters if you change the order in the objectives, but you just how. it
Well,
reads
we're
best.
voting on it, so I mean, when it's all said and done, you've made a motion and a second and had an
Yeah,
amendment,
that
this
was-
is what I'm adding.
Right.
So this, I need to know, like Nick said, I
Okay.
need to know where it goes, because then when you all vote on the entire banana, the whole enchilada,
The Spanish
what it
is
is.
objective 1.
that's,
Yeah,
I mean,
let's
that's
just
what we
stick with
published.
it. That's fine.
So I wanna know before you take your final vote,
Right.
those are the only two changes and what I'm changing, because then when you all vote on the whole thing, I gotta know what to go back and put in, and then that's what we're publishing
Correct.
Okay,
for the public.
to make it, read well, it should have English to see how community partners to offer relevant classes and programs in English literacy, particularly ESL.
I thought it was functional literacy.
It is up top.
Oh,
But
Where?
maybe under objective 2, which is now 3, in English literacy, because we are talking about functional literacy, then we're talking about Spanish programming, volunteers to supplement staff if you want to put English literacy in objective 3, you can, to make it more understandable, if that's what it takes, or
We
just
already-
leave it out.
we already
The
voted
ESL,
on
We already voted on
ESL
it.
kind of passes,
Yeah,
and it should
okay.
kinda already
All
cover.
right, let's leave it as is.
I mean, we can add it, it's just, that's another amendment and another,
No, okay, leave it as is.
and another motion and another second and another
yeah.
vote.
We're good, we're good.
Y'all's prerogative, I'll sit here till midnight, but,
Right.
that's y'all's prerogative.
Don't wish that on
You
us.
just wanna get home,
No, it's-
onto Turkey Day.
Let the cooking begin.
That's right. That's right.
I serve at your pleasure, so,
So strategic plan. We didn't take a final vote on that, did we?
No, sir.
No, we
No,
gotta,
we have a
Accepted.
motion on the floor and a second to accept the strategic plan
Not yet.
with the corrections.
yes,
No.
sir.
Okay, motion to
That's right.
accept.
Right.
As amended, just need a motion and a second and a vote to accept the full plan as is with these amendments that you've mentioned.
Motion to accept.
You what?
Motion to accept.
Do we have a second?
Who's second?
Second.
Vicky. Gotcha.
Okay, all in favor? Okay,
Okay,
any opposed?
all right, 6-2, gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so update building projects.
The only other update, we've already discussed the Seneca project, the only other update, and most of you are already aware of this, but we did, have roads and bridges. Again, Mr. Reed, I had him come over and meet with, Stephanie White, who is the board, president of the Friends Board. And we finally got some clarity on what they wanted. Some people had told me that hump, the little speed bump that was supposed to prevent water from running into the garage was the problem. Some had mentioned a bad spot between the pavement and the concrete of where the drive comes out and then meets the sidewalk. Some had mentioned the rough surface of the pavement. I'd gotten all sorts of different things, so, finally having him come and meet with her directly, what it was finally established was it was the speed hump and it was the problem with, where the concrete meets the asphalt surface. Cool, he said no problem. he had the guys out, I don't wanna say next day, I think it was 2 days after. Anyway, he had a crew come from Roads and Bridges, guy out there with a grinder. I mean, we had dust all over the garage. The friends were still digging out from dust, I think, in the sale on Thursday. But they ground off the, concrete so that it's level with the asphalt surface. And then they had a, track hoe come in, mini excavator come in and remove the hump. As of today with the rain, we have not noticed any issues. It's running. They shot a laser to level to make sure that before they took the hump off, that it really would run the way it's still supposed to run, and it does at this point. We have a heavier rain than what we had today, I don't know, we'll see. But at least as of now, it's working as they expected, the hump has been removed, the concrete has been ground off. The friends seem very happy with the result of that.
Great.
And I did mention in my report, I have not had a chance to follow up with the gentleman yet. But there is a gentleman that came to one of our programs and was very complimentary of our youth services assistant, DJ Wharton. And he said, I also do landscaping. And I said, ding, I will be in touch. I have not yet been in touch, unfortunately, because we've had so much other going on. But I do intend to follow up with him, particularly if it's something that we can do on the fairly cheap and get the friends to help me fund it. I'd love for him to come up with, because he has like landscape planning. I mean, we would probably still have to find some volunteers or somebody to actually do it. But he does landscape planning, and what I'm hoping is that he can take a look at Seneca and Walhalla. I mentioned specifically that kind of ugly entrance on our Broad Street,
Good.
South Broad Street side to him. He said, yes, because he comes up, he works in the ag building. He works down at the, ag building about 2 blocks from us at 301 South Broad. And so he's very familiar with that entrance. He comes up to the library and walks on the Wonder Wing from time to time, so he's very familiar with that entrance. And he said, yeah, so I think, the building part of it, I need to get facilities maintenance fixed, but we're still also working on an HVAC problem in that, Macaulay room. We're still working on a couple other things. I've got a roof leak right now that I need to get them to fix at Walhalla. We think it's like a nail pop or something that is causing some, water to come in. I don't know that we saw it today. It may have
How
fixed
old is
itself,
the
but
roof,
anyway.
sir?
Huh?
How old is the roof?
24?
I thought you were gonna say 24 years.
Replaced.
Yeah.
It was replaced, the Westminster roof was replaced in 2014. The Seneca roof, since it's a flat roof and a mess.
Oh, yeah.
They did that
replaced in
well,
about
yeah.
2018,
It was the first year I was on.
2020, yeah. I mean, we did it later, it's been done. And then they did the roof in Salem, not that it affects us except for our one room, but they did do the roof in Salem about that same time, like 2014, I think, cause that was the same year I did my roof. So I kinda remember. But anyway, so, but yeah, the friends are happy with the project that we did there and then the landscaping and other projects. I will also say that the Seneca project, the pavement project there in Seneca is gonna force us to move some trees. Small ones. They haven't grown up a whole lot yet, but they're fairly decent size. They're probably about 10 feet. And we're gonna have to come in, I guess, and try to get the whole root ball and see if we can get those moved without killing them, because we had the garden club put those in for us a few years ago after we lost. 2018, we lost the last of our big oaks out there in the front to the hurricane. And so, we put in a couple of, red maples, cause they grow fast, to replace them. Well, now the red maples are gonna be right there where we're gonna put a parking lot, so we do have to move those, but I've been assured by Mr. Reed that they can do that, so I'm not too worried about it. That covers the building projects.
Sounds good. Under new business, 2026 board meeting schedule.
Okay, that was provided in your packet as well. But we have had a question about the Tuesday 24th, the November 24th meeting. Because yet again, just as we are doing this year, it would be on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Which,
Stinks.
obviously we have attendance, and we appreciate that, but there's a lot of other programs that come up and that kind of thing. You can either vote on it as is, or you can say, we'll vote on all the dates except November, and we instruct the director to check with Jennifer Adams, who's the clerk to council, and see if there's an alternative date in November to,
You gonna make that as a motion?
Oh.
You shaking your head?
Oh, can we make, can we make a motion to move the November, 2026 meeting to the week before?
Well, if
I
we
don't
don't,
know.
if we don't know,
problem
But he's
is,
gonna look
problem
for
is now
Monday.
that
How about
we're
Monday would
required
be
to have our
great.
meetings
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
I have to check in with Jennifer Adams first to
Monday
make
works.
sure there's an
Monday's
available date.
perfect.
right,
And it can't be first or third because that's county council.
Right.
Well, could we make a motion, like,
Another date.
for another date in that week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we, I make that motion? if-
Yes.
Another date in that
I
week?
second it.
and part of your motion is to approve the remainder.
Wait,
Yes,
who's,
there
Well, no, we have to add this as a amendment first, then we have to do the motion, right?
He was saying that we could make a vote
Oh,
on
yeah, let's approve all.
approving
I
everything.
think
Right.
you've got a motion and a second to amend.
Yeah.
Let's just say that, we
Approve the
wanna
rest.
amend to find an alternate date in November. And as soon as I can get with, Ms. Adams and make sure what day is available, it won't be the first or third Tuesday, obviously, cause that's county council. Usually the fourth Monday is Board of Zoning Review, but perhaps we can get that, or we could get the Wednesday, I don't know. But like the week before, I mean, not that week, obviously, cause moving it from a Monday or Wednesday from Tuesday would be pointless. But if I can get the week before, if I can get like the Monday or Wednesday or something of the third week, I don't know that I can. But we'll, I'll check with her on that and see what alternate times or days are available, for us to meet in these chambers.
Okay, so,
So you
We have
got
a motion and a
we have a
second.
motion
make
and a
that
second on the
To
floor, do
amend.
we have any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
All right, 8-0 on that, and now,
None opposed?
as amended, vote on the rest of it.
Right, right.
Oh.
Who has a motion to accept the rest of the board meeting calendar?
Make a motion to accept the rest of the
Second.
calendar.
Second, okay.
Who's our second?
Kim, all in favor? Okay, none opposed.
Okay.
Request to close the Westminster Library at 4:30 on Friday, December 5th, for the staff to participate in 2025 Westminster Christmas Parade.
Okay, and we can actually withdraw that item from the agenda because, the staff is not going to be able to participate. We'll still have the bookmobile in the parade, but, and I'll have one staff member from Westminster who will be able to go with me. But the other staff members were hoping to get another vehicle, like maybe a little gator or something else that they could ride along and then hand out candy, because the parades are getting a lot more restrictive. They don't want us throwing candy from the actual bookmobile. They wanna have walkers going along and handing out the candy. Safer for the kids, we understand, but I don't have the staffing for it oftentimes,
Volunteers can
So
help.
sorry, that is mine.
Okay.
I don't have the staffing for it oftentimes. So what we're gonna do is, one of their staff members is gonna ride along with me, but we just won't have walkers passing out candy in Westminster.
Okay,
Because they don't have, they'd have to walk the entire route, and that's a little bit more than they wanted to take on. So,
Some
yeah, we
committee
can withdraw that item from the agenda.
unless some of our committee would,
Is the bookmobile in the Seneca Parade on Monday?
unless some of
It's
our
in all
committee
of
would
them.
like to
Go
walk,
past.
pass out
Well,
candy.
I say all of them, in 4 municipalities where we have a bookmobile, where we have a library.
Is that,
We tried to do
Out the
Fair
question.
Play, we tried to do West Union, I don't even know if West Union did one last year.
It got rained out,
Huh?
I think West Union's got rained
Yeah.
out last year.
And we've tried to do Fair Play because we do like to try to do, where we also have a stop or whatever. But all I can commit to with staffing this year is the 4 parades in towns where we have a brick and mortar.
how many walkers do you need?
To do Westminster, probably 3 or 4 would be the best.
Do they walk all through town?
And it's basically from Dollar Tree all the way down to on into town. So it's a long route.
I'm trying to recruit our committee.
Gray hair says I can do it.
Yeah. I'm trying to recruit committees, so I guess that item just goes away.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we can just strike that due to, you could say, it's on the agenda. I just found out today really that they don't wanna participate. I guess we could have voted to amend the agenda at the beginning, but it was just easier to leave it on there and say we don't need it. We can just strike it.
Okay. All right, form ad hoc nominating committee for officer elections in January 26th.
Not me. Just being honest.
This
I
is
can't
now, this
believe
is
it.
a nominating committee, this doesn't mean you're going
Can't
to.
believe a year's up already.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Why do we need a nominating committee? I thought we just nominated last time.
Yeah, I think we just went around.
Yeah, do we just wanna, do we wanna make a motion that we just nominate
Yeah.
on January? Let's just do
I
that.
like
Let's do
that.
that.
Yeah, so you're making that as a
I'm
motion.
making a motion that we nominate at the meeting like we did last time.
Second on that.
Alright.
Cliff's got the motion, Kim has.
Did
the
you hear
second.
that, Blair?
Who was the second?
Kim.
Okay, all in favor?
8-0.
Any opposed? No, that's all. Okay, and no executive session. So motion to adjourn.
So moved.
No motion.
Oh, sorry.
No, she mentioned.
Okay,
Wait, motion and second, who?
Cliff,
I'll second. I'll second.
oh, I'm sorry, not
Nick.
Cliff, Nick, I'm sorry.
Nick is motion and who's second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Yes. Raise your hand,
Any
Judy.
opposed?
No. I'm trying to, so we're gonna nominate,
Somebody put that in
January.